神死にの槍。さて、お手並み拝見といこうか。
So this past weekend, we had the opportunity to go Jump Festa and play Bleach Rebirth of Souls. Unfortunately, they didn't let us record, but we did get to do a 15-minute tutorial, and we got to play one match. And this is the same demo that we got to see Masakazu Morita play, the voice actor of Ichigo. And in today's video, I'm basically just going to give you my thoughts and some things that you may need to know about the game. Since I got to play this game for about 30 minutes, I got a good idea of how this game works, and I can let you know what to expect whenever this game releases. But today's anime question is going to be, which part of the story mode are you most excited to play through? Let me know, which arc do you actually want to play through in Bleach Rebirth of Souls? And if there's anything you might be interested in, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell, do all those nice things. And I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and hop straight into this video. And before we get into this video, I just want to send a message to any content creators or anybody out there that's going to be using this video. Feel free to use it for whatever you want to. Appreciate any types of shout out or anything that you want to do to send people to this channel. But when we talk about Bleach Rebirth of Souls, the first thing we got to talk about is the presentation. And the presentation of the game was pretty good. Of course, we know that Bleach has all the style. It's always been an anime that's had style. So of course the game has it well. There's nice text, and the transitions to the match are pretty good, and it also just has that good feeling that you feel from Bleach. And the select screen also fits the vibe of Bleach, with the characters being easy to see and not too many things cluttering the screen. The sounds are also pretty good with this game. You have some good music, especially whenever people go into their bankais. The music will actually change in the background. One thing I will say, there's a lack of unique dialogue. You get the same dialogue each match, so I do think they should maybe add some more unique things, or especially some unique interactions with characters. When we move over to customization, I do think more costumes are needed, but at least in the demo, we're able to see about 2 to 3 costumes for each character, with also some really unique ones, especially for characters like Yoruichi, and also with Ichigo, with us getting a little bit of a different version of his costume that wasn't just a color change. As far as the game modes in the demo, we had a basic versus mode. We also had the tutorial, which we played through. We already know this game is going to have a story mode with some of the trailers that we've got. It's also going to have a unique special story mode that goes away from the original story, and we can also probably guess that we're going to get a ranked and also an online versus mode. As far as the roster for the demo, they only had 7 playable characters, and I got to play with 4 of them, and they all felt pretty unique with their own aspects that make them strong. I used Ukiura, Hitsugaya, Yoruichi, and also Gin. Maybe if I get to play this game again, I'll definitely try to use Byakuya, since he's basically a stance character. I think the final roster of this game should probably be around 30 characters, since we roughly have about 11 to 12 more weeks before release, and since they didn't do a multiple character trailer at Jump Festa, that makes me think that we're not going to get a roster too far over 30. Now each character will take a little bit of practice and labbing. They do have enough differences to where you do need to justify getting in the lab to learn how to use them, but you can pick them up and use the basic combat moves in this game. But if you want to use the spiritual pressure techniques the right way, you're definitely going to need to get in the lab to figure out how these characters actually work and find ways to combo things together. As far as with the controls, we're going to get more in depth in a second, but there's easy controls and easy to pick up and play, but it also has some depth, and there is some customability. I didn't get the customized things because I only had 15 minutes to play, but you can also go to the settings and you can see a control layout, and you can also choose to use a simple or advanced controls for this game. I didn't get to change this setting, and I'm thinking that maybe when I was playing this demo, I was on the advanced controls, because I did feel like I had combo freedom when I was playing. But if you do want to have auto combos or maybe have a simpler gameplay, you can choose the simple controls, and we actually got this confirmed from an actual news post in Japan that got to play the demo. Now when we get into the gameplay, which is what y'all want to hear about, this game is a full arena fighter, but it doesn't actually act like one. You're forced to face your opponent, so there's not really like manually turning your back or running away, and guard works omnidirectional, so there's not like Sparking Zero in the turns. Whenever you turn your back and you're getting hit from the back, you're going to take damage. If you're blocking, your block is going to protect you from all around on the map. Also, there's no manual upward or downward movement, so when you see people going down to the ground or going up and walking on Reishi, this is something that happens automatically. You can't actually control this. This maybe happens after a bankai, after a certain evolution. This is going to bring you back to the ground, or also bring you up in the air whenever you're actually fighting and knocking somebody up. Because of the way that the game works, I do think there's a high chance of competitive gameplay, especially with the way that this game acts different, where it forces you to face your opponent and forces you to actually go into action, and it doesn't really promote a way of actually being able to run away and trying to delay the match. As far as the basic meters, you have your Reishi or your health bar. You also have your spiritual pressure part, which is going to allow you to use your spiritual pressure techniques. You have your Konpaku, which is basically your lives. You have your reverse gauge, which is another energy resource that you're going to have to manage. You also have your fighting spirit / your evolution gauge. This is a value that goes to your bankai and also your reawakening. And we also have the spirit drive, which we still don't really know what it does. We didn't get to find out from this demo, but it activates pretty much whenever you're getting close to getting killed, and I think this has something to do with maybe reishi recovery and also damage, but we don't know for sure. And then of course we also have the guard gauge. The combat gives you a lot of tools that you can actually use to your display. We have the quick attacks, which helps you build up your spiritual pressure gauge. We also have the flash attacks, which these ones more so focus on guard damage and also reishi depletion, and tilting the stick can change this to a more ranged move that allows you to cover more ground to get to the enemy. This is a special flash attack that, different characters will have a different one. There's also a signature move which is unique to each character, and this one doesn't use meters, so you can spam this, but the spam ability depends on the animation of the character. So depending on if your character has a longer animation like crouching or taking a certain startup, it's going to take longer for you to get this compared to like a projectile or Ukiura. He's able to spam his Sero, but this also depletes his health, so it does have a down effect. You can also do steps and dashes with stepping to the side or also stepping forward. And if you hold the button, you'll dash forward, which is a little animation that allows you to glide towards the opponent. There's also guarding, which is pretty good against basic attacks, and this guard actually lasts a long time. You can actually see the guard gauge, and you can see as it depletes, but you need to watch this because if you guard break, it's going to lead to you being in a vulnerable state where you can actually get hit with a key cone move, which is the moves that allow you to get your lives destroyed. And whenever you actually do have a guard break, you're going to blink red and you're actually going to fall to the ground for a second and you're not going to be able to move. So this is very vulnerable and you definitely don't want to get your guard broken, but you really have to try to get your guard broken, especially whenever you're dealing with basic attacks, because it takes quite a decent amount of hits to actually break your guard in this game. And speaking about guard breaks, we found out what the R1 button does. It's actually a breaker, and this is the direct counter to guards, and it's unique for different characters, and this thing basically breaks your guard immediately, but this does have a decent startup, so you're not just going to be able to spam this, but this is a good way to actually get through the guard if you're playing against somebody that's trying to turtle, and then you can actually go into your light or your quick or your flash attacks. When we talk about the key cone moves, these moves are actually used to actually destroy lives or also blow back enemies, but we're going to talk about this. This one has a unique animation, and each character has around 3 different key cone moves, with the exception of some characters that have more than one awakening. Besides being past the awakening time of these animations, they don't really have a clear pattern for when they actually activate. I thought first off that it depends on how many Konpaku you're going to destroy, but sometimes characters would use a different animation, like Rukia and Ukiura using their key cone move 2 instead of using the finishing one whenever it was the end of the match. And Rukia actually has the same animation for 2 of her key cone moves, but you also see her use a different one whenever she's finishing off against Byakuya. And Ukiura may seem like he has more than 3 key cone moves, because I did see people saying this, but you got to pay attention to the fact that the Sero move is the same animation for when before he goes into his reawakening and before he goes into his awakening. That Sero move is the same animation, and he does have an animation with Ichigo where he holds him up and he does a point blank Sero. I have a feeling that this one might be a character specific animation, because whenever he finished off Byakuya in the demo when I was watching it, this animation wasn't triggered and he did take off 5 lives, so we're gonna have to see later on to see how this move actually works, but there's a chance that there might be some character specific interactions whenever it comes to these soul destruction techniques. And what I mean about the key cone moves being used for blowbacks, you don't only use this whenever you want to destroy lives. You can use this key cone move whenever you want to, and you can use it just by pressing R2, and you can spam it as much as you want, but this can be blocked, and you can tell this is being used whenever the red aura is actually around the sword. So pretty much in every trailer we've watched, whenever you see that initial combo and you see them block them back, that is them actually throwing a key cone move into their normal combo. And using this too early when your opponent has a lot of reishi and it's not depleted enough can give your opponent time to actually recover before they fall down, before you can actually hit them with the move, which is what results in the clashes that we've been seeing in some of the gameplay. Now you also could possibly dodge this, but it seems like the most optimal option is to block as soon as you get the recover animation, because if you don't block, you can still get hit with the key cone move even if you do recover. So basically, if you actually want to get these key cone moves off, it's kind of best for you to actually deplete the reishi until it gets into the weakened state. If you do catch somebody off guard and they don't recover in time, then you could get this off, but it's not going to be that often. And depending on some various aspects, the number of Konpaku that you actually destroy after landing this key cone move will change, considering the fact that if you deplete all their health, then you might get the full damage, because you can actually see on the meter, the ones that are actually blinking orange, this means this is how much you can actually destroy without actually depleting their reishi bar down to 0. If you deplete their reishi bar down to 0, then you can actually get the red bar, which allows you to deplete the most amount of Konpaku that you can actually destroy. And there's certain characters that get extra boosts, like Ichigo, where he can actually destroy an extra Konpaku move if he's in his white version of the reverse state. And the fact that this move can blow you back and you can use this whenever is why I said that this will probably be used for more than just getting damage. You'll probably also use it to get some space and get some time, especially if you're playing as like Ukiura and you want to heal, or if you want to try to charge up a move. This is definitely going to be useful. And I didn't mention, after you actually get off the key cone move, in order to fully actually do the soul destruction, once you hit them with the initial key cone move and knock them back, you got to hold the input again, which is going to allow you to follow up to actually destroy their soul. As far as the spiritual pressure moves, when we talk about these are unique moves that can be used as counters, blasts, combos, techniques, or also buffs. They all are very different depending on the character that you're actually using, but these are pretty much for big damage with a high risk depending on the charge ups. And the way that these are actually used is by a point system. Actually above the reverse bar, you'll see the spiritual pressure bar that usually has a max of 150 points, and some of these spiritual pressure moves will take 100 points or they'll take 50 points, and that's actually how your bar gets depleted. Now the time does stop momentarily when you actually activate these spiritual pressure moves, which gives your opponent some time to react, or if they're in the middle of an attack, you're probably going to hit them with it. But we actually saw through some gameplay with Yoruichi and Hitsugaya that they're actually able to react to each other, and they both activated their spiritual pressure moves at the same time. So time does stop for a little bit, but you do have time to actually react to this. And I think the delay could either be a good thing or a bad thing, consider the fact that it's so obvious whenever you're popping these moves, because you hear the sound effect and then things slow down. So I'm very curious to see how this actually goes whenever we're playing live on online matches. With another feature being reverse action, which has 3 options. The reverse gauge is actually one of the most important parts of this game, and I'm actually going to explain that to you. So the first 3 uses is something that you probably already know about, which is the white reversal, which is the ratio recovery and also the damage boost. Also have the yellow activation, which you can use this one for combo extension and also another damage boost. And then we have the blue activation, which is a combo breaker to get people off you, and this also gives you some good guard recovery. Now one of the only things that was concerning about this is the fact that these reversal activations, which color you get, is actually random. You actually don't get to choose this, and when you actually look at the description, it says that it depends on the evolution or just depends on the state that you're actually in the battle. And what I'm guessing from what I've seen from the gameplay and when these things actually activate, I think that the one that actually gives you ratio recovery is probably going to happen whenever you have low health and also whenever you're not moving. I think the yellow one for combo extension is going to happen while you're actually attacking, because this is going to allow you to continue your combos. And I think the blue one is maybe going to activate whenever you're in the middle of getting hit by a combo, which is going to allow you to get people off you, or maybe even whenever your guard gets depleted and gets broken, I think you can maybe pop this blue one to get your guard back quicker. And another feature that uses the reverse gauge, and is the reason why I said that your reverse gauge might be one of the most important things in the game, is going to be your ho-ho or your flash step, which is something that every character has. And the ho-ho or flash step actually has 3 uses. You can use this for combo extension, which you can actually see Byakuya do in some of the gameplay that we saw from the news article, and we can also see you can use it for movement to get behind people, and you could also use it for a counter. And we finally know what this actual animation that we see in every single trailer is. Whenever the person goes behind them and slashes them, we see that reverse pop up. That is actually them using flash step. But the way that this works is you have to use the flash step at the perfect timing right before somebody hits you, and this will allow you to basically get this counter where you go behind them and slash them and get this animation. I'd basically compare this to like the super counter from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, where it has a very precise timing, and if you don't get this, it's not going to work. We don't know the other effects that this has, but this is definitely the flash step. So basically you can use this for combo extension, movement, and also counter, but all these things take your reverse meter, so practically 1 bar. You typically get about 3 bars on your reverse meter as it's going up, and using your flash step 1 time is going to knock your bar down by 1. The next feature is going to be Awakening, which a lot of y'all probably already know about, which is going to be the Bankai and the Reawakening, but we found some other things out. Of course, the Bankai and the Reawakening is going to give you power boosts and also unique changes depending on the character. For example, Renji may be getting an insane range boost, Nell gets more mobility, Gin gets extended range with quicker activation, also Mayuri can get constant poison damage. All these things are unique, but none of these activations actually renew your health bars. Whenever you go into your new forms, you're going to keep that same health bar, besides maybe the Vasta Lorde form from Ichigo, because this happens after you die. Also, the initial evolution gauge doesn't reset after losing your Konpaku, so you'll be able to go into Bankai even if somebody kills you before you can activate it. But Reawakening, especially when you're using it with Ukiura, you're actually going to have to make sure that you don't die, because if your Konpaku are destroyed while you're trying to get your Reawaken, it's actually going to reset. And this is definitely going to come into play for characters like Aizen, who take a lot longer to actually get their Reawakening bar up. You're going to have to really make sure you're managing that you don't get knocked out, because if you do, you're going to lose that whole gauge. And one of the last things we're going to talk about with the gameplay in general is just how much you can actually use these combos. You can create devastating combos by mixing light, heavy, guard breaks, key cone moves, signature moves, spiritual pressure moves, and flash steps mid combos. I know it sounds like a lot, but you truly do have that much freedom in your combos. Most of the combos you actually see in the trailers where you're seeing flash steps and movements around the characters and people moving around, this is because of additional input. This isn't just the basic auto combos of just spamming square. There's a lot of things that you can throw in between these combos to make things different, besides maybe Yoruichi, who actually moves around in her normal combos. But using flash step at the end of the combos can use your reverse gauge, but it also allows you to move around. You can mix the light with the heavies and also end things up with the key cone move to make your combos better. And we can actually see from the gameplay that we recently saw that Byakuya Byakuya finds a way to mix a light into a signature action and then into a Kikon move. So this is going to be up to you, and also looking at the character guide to see what combos you can do. But for the people that are worried about the freedom and if you can actually mix the signature actions with the light attacks and the flash attacks, don't worry about that. There's going to be so much that you can do with this, especially with certain characters that have different things. And I'm very excited to see how this gameplay continues to evolve whenever more people get their hands on this. To wrap things up, man, all around the combat was enjoyable, and it left me wanting to explore a lot more about the game. I also played against the hardest difficulty and won, which is why I said it's pretty easy to pick it up and play, especially if you start learning the character and you can learn what they can do. There were times when I actually even forgot about using my spiritual pressure moves just because I relied solely on normal attacks and flash stepping, because it was so fun to actually feel like I was in the Bleach anime. And I think running and zoning are not really going to be too much of an issue in this game. Of course, we're going to find out once we get it, because it's not the games that typically end up just being bad from the beginning, it's the players that make it bad. But I think running and zoning will get countered with flash steps and also just a lot of moves that can close a distance. But one of the subscriber questions that I had that actually didn't get answered from this is that there's no crossplay, or at least we didn't get that confirmed. I don't think this game is going to have crossplay just because it seems like something that Bandai just tends to like lag behind on, but there is a chance maybe that we might get it, but I didn't get to find this out from the demo. But some complaints that I do have about the game, nothing really too big, but I do think we should get some more unique dialogues. It'd be really nice if there were certain characters that interacted with each other. Also, whenever you're doing the character select screen, I prefer if both characters were facing forward. When you're actually doing the character select screen, you'll be facing forward, but the opponent you're facing will actually face backwards. This could just be a demo thing, but I think this is just a small change. I also think it'd be nice if there was a manual choice for ascending and descending, going to the ground and going into the air, but I don't think this is something that they're probably going to be able to change. I'd also like if there'd be a choice where you can actually pick which reversal technique you use, and instead of having to put you into a certain situation to use these reversal techniques. But we could also find out that there might be a way to actually manipulate this once the game actually comes out and everybody gets their hands on it. And the last change is maybe I would like it if they made it a little bit less obvious whenever you're using the spiritual pressure move. I do think this is going to come back to bite certain people, especially when you're using counters and stuff whenever it has that loud activation sound. But let me know how I actually feel about some of these changes that I think we should get in the future, and let me know how I actually feeling about the game now that we gave y'all some more information and things like that. I tried to cover most of the things that y'all had questions about and try to to really test this game out to push it to the limit. I'll definitely make sure to let y'all know if I have a chance to play this game again. Make sure to drop some more questions in the comments. I'll try to answer all the questions that I can answer. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe so you can never see whenever I get other early access content. I'm living in Japan now, so hey man, we're gonna be here for a little bit, so I'm always gonna be here to give y'all the gameplay when I can, man. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. We out.